listening to the TCB Radio Network.
Hello, friends. This is Elvis Presley.
I am Marion Cox, the official sex symbol on TCB Radio Network.
This is Mindy Miller.
This is Ray Walker from the Jordanaires.
This is Elvis's Speedway co-star, Victoria Paige Myrie.
This is Cynthia Pepper from Kissing Cousins.
This is Zoe Botto, author of Elvis Style, From Suit Suits to Jumpsuits.
This is Don Wilson, and if you're looking for Elvis, you're in the right place, TCB Radio Network.
Where it's all about Elvis.
Everything is about Elvis. It is all about Elvis.
All Elvis, all the time.
If you want to listen to something really stylish, listen to tcbradionetwork.com.
You can't do any better than that, so stay with us.
People who know Elvis know about TCB Radio Network, where it's all Elvis, all the time.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Following the death of Elvis Presley in 1977, Ronnie McDowell came out of nowhere to dazzle the world with his heartfelt and self-penned tribute song, The King Is Gone, on the independent Scorpion label. The record took off immediately, gaining airplay on country and pop stations across the country and around the world. To date, The King Is Gone has sold more than 5 million copies. And since then, Ronnie has charted more than 30 top 40 hits on the Billboard country music charts. He's also known as the voice of Elvis for many movies and TV shows. But did you know that Ronnie is also an artist and painter? He's even creating art for Disney now. And he's online with us here at TCB Radio Network to tell you all about this and so much more. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ronnie McDowell.
Live and in color.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it's good to be with y'all.
We're excited to have you. Well, first, we want to get the housekeeping out of the way and let everybody know that you've got some great shows coming up September 27th and 28th, which is a Friday and Saturday, over in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee, with John Schneider. And you've got some special guests as well. You want to tell everybody about your shows that you've got coming up?
Yes, and I appreciate you doing that. John and I, Bo Duke of Dukes of Hazzard, he and I have known each other for like 42 years, and the first time I saw him was at the Tropicana in Las Vegas. He was sitting with Lonnie Anderson, and of course I was intrigued by seeing John because I'd been seeing him on TV, but I was more intrigued by seeing Lonnie Anderson, so I was kind of jealous he was sitting there with her. But anyway, that's the first time I met him 42 years ago at the Tropicana in Las Vegas, and we are going to be in Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee, the 27th and 28th of this month, the last weekend of the month, and it's a beautiful venue. As a matter of fact, this place in Red Bowling Springs that used to be the Pigeon Forge of Tennessee 100 years ago.
Wow. And
the old hotel that we're performing at, Woodrow Wilson used to go to bathe in the waters there, President.
Wow.
And so it's a very historical, interesting place and beautiful. And his, as a matter of fact, the President's room is still there, number 8.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
And I always loved going there, and I told John that he was going to love this place, and he will. So I'm excited about that. But before that, the weekend before that, next weekend, we're performing at the Fainting Goat Festival.
Oh, they're fun to watch, those fainting goats.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing before that. So a lot of wonderful things coming up I'm excited about.
Yeah, so much coming up. And you can find tickets and everything else at Ronnie's website, RonnieMcDowell.com. I also saw on there that you've got a cruise coming up later this year. I want to know more about that, too.
Yeah, we're doing a cruise in November, and we do one pretty much every year. I think next year we're going to Hawaii. So cruises are always fun. I'm a 3-term combat veteran of the Vietnam War, and I was in the Navy in the Tonkin Gulf in Vietnam, and so when I do cruises, it always reminds me of being back on the water and in the Navy.
Wow. Well, I need to say thank you for your service. And my son just joined the Navy. He just graduated boot camp in August, and he is finishing up his training in Pensacola, Florida right now.
He's got something in common with Ronnie McDowell. How about that?
Well, we sure do, and you tell him I'm proud of him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Ronnie, I saw you're sailing out of Jacksonville, Florida, and, Peter and I are in Florida, so I've already written to the travel agency hoping to crash your pre-cruise party and everything else, so maybe we'll see you in November, but that's beside the point.
Well, I hope that you can, and then Pete and I can do another video.
There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now I understand Chris McDaniel and Jonathan Lynn are both going to be doing your concerts here that are coming up at the end of September. Now, Jonathan Lynn was on our show, so our listeners are familiar with him with You Will Never Leave My Mind fame, which was written by you, Ronnie.
Uh-huh. And I love that song. I wrote it for my friend, George Klein, because he passed away with dementia. And so that inspired me to write You Will Never Leave My Mind. And I gave the song to Jonathan because I write all the time. That's actually how I got into the music business as a songwriter. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I started writing songs right out of Vietnam.
Wow. Now, are you working now on I saw something about a late night Nashville show, or is that something you're working on?
Yeah, we're doing that, and we're also doing painting history, where we go to different places and we do paintings. The pilot, interesting enough, is 11-year-old Elvis Presley in Tupelo. His mother took him to the hardware store, and he wanted a .22 rifle, and she said, "No, you'll shoot your eye out," just like in the Christmas Story. But the guy behind the counter, Mr. Horace Bobo, he knew the Presleys, and he said, "Elvis, sit on this stool," and he pulled out a Silvertone guitar, Sears and Roebuck guitar, out of a glass case, which is still there, by the way, and gave it to Elvis, and he sat on the stool, and he started playing around with the guitar, and I painted that. And that is the pilot for painting history, and that painting is called That Magic Moment, and wasn't it a magic moment?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a great painting. It's really beautiful. Everybody needs to go to your website and look at all the paintings that you've done. And one that got me really excited was I saw that you painted something with Elvis and Mickey Mouse in front of an old camera, and Walt Disney's in the background with Ed Sullivan. What was the inspiration for that painting?
Well, I think my oldest son, Ryan Dean, had the idea, and then I told Tyler, my youngest son, I call him the Imaginator on the TV show. I'm the painter, he's the Imaginator, and then we have my friend Jim Calloway, who I grew up with in Portland, Tennessee. He is the, I can't remember what we call him, the negotiator. That's what Jim is. But it's all three of us, and so that's the TV show, Painting History.
Well, now, speaking of painting history, you just told us about when you started singing. So as far as painting, have you been painting all your life, or is that something you took up after you were singing?
No, Pete, in 1956, I was in the first grade, and ironically, the first year that Elvis was like the biggest thing on the planet. And I started drawing in class, and I drew a big red fire engine for my first grade school teacher. And when she was in the hospital, and just before she passed away, I went to visit her, and I said, "Miss Reddick, do you remember me drawing a big red fire engine in the first grade back in 1956? And she goes, "What do you mean? I still have it." And I said, "Oh, Lord, I'd give my eye teeth to have that." She goes, "Nope, you're famous now, and I'm giving it to my kids." But I'd get my eye teeth just to see it.
Wow.
But anyway, I started back then, and I found out that I could draw and paint, and I would sculpt little animals. I would sculpt giraffes and elephants and different animals, and my teacher would have me to go around and show them to the different classes, and so I found out that I could sculpt. But you know what it is? It's that right side of the brain. It's the arts and the entertainment, and you either can do that or you can't. And so I found out that I could paint and sculpt, and then later on started. Well, actually, I was already singing. I would walk around the house in 1953 and 54 when I was 3 and 4 singing "Your Cheating Heart." I love Hank Williams.
That's fantastic. I have one of my favorites of yours is the one you did of George Jones on his tractor.
Right. Yeah, he called me and asked me to do that just before he passed away, not too long before. And he verbatim called me one day and he goes, "Hey, Roddy, I want you to paint a picture of me getting a DUI on my lawnmower." And
Yeah.
said,
The lawnmower. That's what it was.
I said,
love
"George,
that
that's one of the best ideas I've ever heard in my life for a painting." And I immediately, Pete, I saw it. I immediately saw what I wanted to do. And so I went downtown on Dickerson Road here, and there was a liquor store. It's been there since the 40s, still there, called Last Chance. And that's what I call the painting. And I took a bunch of, well, as a matter of fact, I told George, I said, "Well, George, get on your John Deere and take me some photos of you on your lawnmower." And he sent them to me the very next day, and I still got all of them, a stack of them. And I wouldn't take anything for all the pictures.
No, absolutely. But he certainly, apparently, he was very excited about having this artwork done. So, because he got those to you right away.
Oh yeah, the next day. And as a matter of fact, when he called me 2 weeks before he passed away, and he said, "Ronnie, I need 500 of those prints. I'm going on tour." And they went ahead and printed them. And I think Nancy had them. As a matter of fact, I know she did, because I had the flu and I couldn't even go to the funeral.
Oh, wow.
And but anyway, he didn't get to sell the prints. But they have them at his museum on 2nd Avenue. They have the lawnmower that he got the DUI on, and my painting is hanging right above the lawnmower. So what an honor that is.
Well, and how nice that he did get to see it. That's nice to know that he at least got to see it.
He and I were friends. He was another one of my mentors for 40 years.
Well, and I know you, going back to your service in the Vietnam War, you wrote a song pretty recently called "I Want My Country Back," which is not a political song, and I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. I know you said Jonathan Lynn's going to be recording that one for you.
Yeah, Jonathan recorded it. As a matter of fact, I gave it to Kid Rock last night, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, since I gave you that painting," I was kind of rubbing it in, and I said, "I want you to just consider listening to this song, 'I Want My Country Back,' and I want you to consider just doing a line or two on the song." So you never know, he may love it and want to do it because, he's like me. He's not, well, I'm not going to say he's not political, but, he's a conservative like myself. And,
Yep.
And but my song is not political at all. It's just saying I want my country back. It's a double meaning, actually. When I wrote it, it's one of my favorite things I've ever written in my life. My favorite line I put in there for my hero and my mentor and my icon and my friend and my second dad, Conway Twitty. And I put the line in there, Conway Twitty could teach them and take them all to school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the truth.
And ain't that the truth?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I can't wait till you hear Jonathan Lynn's song.
Yeah.
I want my country back.
We're looking forward to it.
As Krista said, we played
You Will Never Leave
You
My
Will
Mind.
Never Leave My Mind. And like I said, I know a lot of people had asked us where they can get it, so that I know that one's probably going to do real well.
We'll be right back with today's interview after this announcement.
This is Mindy Miller. I want to say hi to all my friends out there in social media, and I want to encourage you to order your set of Wisdom Organic products brought to you by Larry Geller and his wife Shira. He is having a 20% discount right now on your orders and your set of Wisdom Organics. In order to get the 20%, you have to use the code TCBRN, which stands for TCB Radio Network. Brought to you by Krista Joy and Peter Alden to save 20% on your next order.
And I'm telling you right now that we are going to be playing Trying to Find That Girl, because you and I sang that one together. I guess she just couldn't take anymore. I should have stayed at home and not have left her alone. And now she's had a feel. Just when I thought I had her wrapped around my finger, just when I knew it was forever, just like that it was over. Now I'm running around all over town trying to find that girl, trying to find that girl. I love that. Yeah, thank you. I wanted to do that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just like a spider. I had her caught in the web. There was no way she could escape. I had her heart just standing still. And then one day she left me. I guess she just couldn't take anymore. I should have stayed at home and not left her alone. And now she's had her fill. Just when I thought I had her wrapped around my finger, just when I knew it was forever, well, just like that it was over. Now I'm running around all over town trying to find that girl, trying to find that girl. I saw an old friend on the corner. I said, tell me, have you seen my girl? I've looked high and low where we used to go, she's nowhere to be found. I won't give up till I find her. I gotta tell her what she means to me. I gotta tell her that I need her, tell her that I love her, how she turned my life around. Just when I thought I had her wrapped around my finger, just when I knew forever, well, just like that it was over. Now I'm running around all over town trying to find that girl, trying to find that girl, trying to find that girl, trying to find that girl.
I have everything, even the Elvis soundtrack with Kurt Russell that Kurt Russell did.
Oh wow! You have that album?
Yeah,
he's a big fan.
I have. I tell you, Ronnie, you have your heroes, and you have been one of mine for a long, long time. I would like to ask you if there's any song that you've done that you can think of that you would like to have us play. We would love to play that on the show as well.
Well, I will send it to you. It's me, Bill Medley, the Righteous Brothers and John Schneider. We just finished it, and it's called Country Heaven. I rewrote the words to Rock and Roll Heaven, and it's Country Heaven, and I will send that to you as soon as it's mixed.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait till you hear that. It is unbelievable hearing Bill Medley of the Righteous Brothers sing again on Country Heaven, as he did on the million seller they had, Rock and Roll Heaven, in 74, I think it was.
Right.
And like I say, I rewrote the words to it, and John was honored to sing with the Righteous Brothers, as I am, on this song.
Absolutely.
And all of these people, Bill Medley and the guy that's Bucky, that's doing Bobby Hatfield's part now, who is the most incredible singer. And of course, you know how great John Schneider sings. He did one of my favorite all-time country songs when he did Hush, Don't Talk Now. I love that song. I just love John Schneider singing.
Yeah, I actually loved his version of Johnny Burnett's song Dreamin'. I thought he did a great job on that.
Well, he also did an incredible, phenomenal job. Of course, I'm prejudiced, and nobody's ever going to beat Elvis's version, but John did unbelievable on It's Now or Never.
That's right. He did record It's Now or Never.
Yeah. And so I'm very blessed. Got this new song coming out, and on Curb Records, which I'm excited about because it's the first release I've had in a long time.
And you've been with Curb for a long time.
Since 1984.
Wow.
That's a long run.
That is a long run. That is a very long run.
Tell us about your Elvis history, Ronnie. I know you've been a fan forever. How did that transcend to all that you've done for Elvis's fans?
Well, I'm actually I'm going to make a lot of people ill when I say this, but it's the truth. I'm actually Elvis Presley's #1 fan. I'm his biggest fan. And of course, I'm going to get a lot of argument about that. No, you're not. But anyway, in 1954, 55, my sister, Linda Sue, isn't that a great 50s name?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, she loved Little Richard, too. And so she always loved the song Tutti Frutti. So her name to all of us is Tootie. That's all we know her by.
Oh, that's
but
funny.
she would bring home all these records, Pete, and one day she brought in That's All Right Mama. It was 1954, and I'd never heard anything, a voice like that. I'd been listening to Little Richard, the Platters, Fats Domino, Hank Williams, Lefty Frizzell, everybody pre-Elvis. And then in 55, February of 56, she set me down in front of a little black and white Philco TV. The screen was no bigger than your fist, hardly. And our Uncle Opie, we were very poor. There was 11 of us in our family. And my Uncle Opie gave us this TV, and she set me down. She said, "You know that guy you like on these records?" And I said, "Which one?" She said, "Elvis Presley." And I said, "Yes." She said, "He's on the Dorsey shows." And she said, all the kids at school, they don't watch the Dorsey shows because it's a big band and they don't like it. But this Elvis Presley's on there. He was on there last week, and he's on again tonight, and I want you to watch him. And when he came on, I was like, good Lord. And I was 6 years old. I never will forget it. And my first thought was, at 6, when I seen him, I thought, well, he's too pretty to be a guy. And that was my first time ever putting a face with a voice. And I was just like blown away, and I haven't been the same since. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
So after the just phenomenal success of The King Is Gone, did they approach you pretty quickly after that to start being the singing voice of Elvis?
Yes, I'll tell you how that came about. It's a very interesting, and I will tell you and Krista, my friend Steve Jeppy, who owns the Baltimore Orioles and Diamond Comics. He's as big an Elvis fan as me. I just got off the phone with him. And I never will forget, it was 1977, August the 18th. No, the 17th. Because when I heard Elvis had passed away in my Camaro, it was 2:22 in the afternoon. And that's my number, by the way. I see it everywhere I go, every day, 2:22. Well, that's the time I heard that Elvis had passed away. And so 15 miles down the road, I had my part of that song, The King Is Gone, written. It just came out of my soul because that's how I felt. That's what I was feeling. I was thinking about sitting in front of that little Philco TV and going to see King Creole by myself at 8 years old. I still can't believe I got to do that, but I did. But anyway, so I flew down to Memphis to stand in line to get in to see Elvis because I'd never laid eyes on him. And I was bound and determined. I said, well, dadgummit, I never got to see Elvis live. I'm going to see him, lying in state. And so I got in line at 8:30. And I know this is hard to imagine, but it's the truth. And at 5 o'clock, I still to this day don't know how my bladder held up. but from 8:30 till 5 o'clock that afternoon, I got 10 feet from the gate, and they shut the gate. Oh. I swear. And I was just like devastated. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I've been waiting in line since 8:30 this morning. Well, they shut the gate. Well, people started rioting. You would have had to have been there. It was hundreds of thousands of people. To this day, I've never seen anything like that, and I never will witness that again. Nobody will. And so I jumped in my Camaro, and I went back to Nashville, and I went into Scorpion Records office, and there was a guy standing there by the name of Lee Morgan, who I basically knew a little. And he said, Ronnie, let's do a tribute to Elvis. And I said, I'm not wearing a jumpsuit. He said, that's not what I'm talking about. He said, I've written this song. And I listened to it, and I listened to what he had. And I said, well, listen to what I wrote. I put my talking part. I was barely 6 years old when I first heard him sing. I put all that together with what he had. We went in the next night on Thursday, recorded it, and that's how we came up with The King Is Gone.
I was barely 6 years old when I first heard him sing. And somehow I knew from that moment on that it would be a lifetime thing. And I'd stand in front of a mirror day and night, and I'd listen to every one of his records, and I'd repeat every word and every note till I finally got it right. And I was determined that I'd wait for the day that I could stand and sing in front of an audience, and maybe someone would come up to me and say, you sound just like Elvis. There was a man who gave the world his song, and the world stood still to hear him sing. A simple man who took his faith along, while all the world proclaimed him king. Now the king is gone, and oh, what a reign, and the crown on his head will remain. From a working man to royalty to everlasting fame, the king is gone, yeah, the king is gone, but long live his name. There was a man who tasted sweet success, but still gave his hand to help a friend. A loving man who shared his happiness. Now the king is gone, but there was a man. Now the king is gone, and oh, what a reign, and the crown on his head, oh, will remain. From a working man to royalty to everlasting fame, the king is gone. Yeah, the king is gone. Long live his name. Yeah, the king is gone. Oh, the king is gone. Long live his name. Goodbye, Elvis. We'll miss you.
And I literally walked it into a radio station on a big old acetate. I had 8 of them made 1 mile from Colonel Tom Parker's house in Madison, Tennessee. We know radio. It is no longer there, but it was a real famous radio station. And I said, would you play this? And the girl behind the counter said, we don't just do that off the street. And I said, well, it's about Elvis. She said, well, hold on a minute. she took it back to the DJ, and I could tell he listened to it, and he pointed his finger at me and like, come here. And I went over there, and he said, you stand right here. I'm going to play this, see if you get any reaction. Lo and behold, the record wasn't even a fourth into it. All the phone lines lit up, and he goes, damn, something's wrong with my phone. Mm-hmm. And it never stopped the whole time I was there for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And so I walked out of that building. I went straight down to Nashville into the #1 pop station. Well, the girl behind the seat told me the same thing. She goes, well, we're the #1 station. We just don't do stuff like this. And I said, well, let me tell you, I explained it to her, and this guy walked up to me, and he goes, what you got? I explained it to him. He said, hold on a minute. He took the acetate, one of them, went back into this room, played it, and he come back, and he goes, you stand right here. We're going to play this, see if you get any reaction. He came back out 3 minutes later, and he goes, you have a smash. You have a monster. You have jammed our phone lines. Wow. Well, now, what I was going to tell you about, if I'd got in to see Elvis, fate is a hunter. Fate found me that day. And because had I got in to see him, Lee Morgan wouldn't have been standing in Scorpion Records, and that song would not be, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Wow, that's true.
And how I got into the movies with Elvis and doing Elvis's voice, Monday morning of that week, I walked by this office, and I mean, it was like crazy. You'd have had been there. It was like a movie. And I walked by this office, and this elderly lady said, would you come in here and talk to me, please? Well, I didn't know who she was until she told me. She said, Ronnie, you don't know me, but my name is Mae Axton, and I wrote Heartbreak Hotel. I said, you're kidding me. I said, of course I know who you are. I said, what a treat to talk to you. She said, I want you to put Heartbreak Hotel on your King Is Gone album. And I didn't want to do it. At first, I was totally against that because I was a songwriter, and I wanted to put all my songs on there. Right. But I did because of Mae Axton, and I loved her. She and I bonded till she passed away. Sweetest lady. Lord, I mean, she literally was like my mother, my second mother. And but because I did that, there was an actor. His name is Jim Ritz. He was on Happy Days, and he was a scriptwriter as well for Happy Days. He heard that version of the Heartbreak Hotel on that album, and Dick Clark was doing a movie about Elvis, and he and Jim were big friends. And he knew Jim loved Elvis, and he said, I'm doing this movie starring Kurt Russell about Elvis, and I need somebody to do Elvis's voice, because RCA, I mean, I can't afford to pay what they want, and I need somebody to do Elvis Presley's voice. And he said, have you heard Ronnie McDowell? He said, of course I've heard Ronnie McDowell. I just had him on American Bandstand with his million seller, The King Is Gone. He said, well, yeah, but have you really heard him sing Elvis Presley music? He said, no. So he put that LP on and played Heartbreak Hotel for Dick. And he goes, that's it. I want it. And that's how that came to be.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of this interview. Tune in this Wednesday for the exciting conclusion. Don't forget to subscribe to TCB Radio Network on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast platform. By subscribing, you'll get a notification as soon as our latest episode drops. While you're at it, please rate us with a 5-star review. This will help other Elvis fans find our show. Also, this just in, you can now subscribe to our podcast episodes on YouTube. We also have a YouTube channel that includes archived episodes of our Facebook Live broadcasts and more. You can find links to this and so much more at tcbradionetwork.com.
TCB Radio Network is strictly a fan publication, not affiliated in any way with Elvis Presley Enterprises or any of its affiliates or subsidiaries. Please visit us online at tcbradionetwork.com. All trademarks, product names, company names, and logos mentioned are the properties of their respective owners. All opinions stated within do not necessarily reflect the opinions of anyone else, and certainly not Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Still the King, our theme song for TCB Radio Network podcast, was written by Shane Douglas, produced by Terry Fullwider at Blue Spot Studios, and performed by Peter Alden and his band Crown Electric Company, featuring David Fontana, son of Elvis Presley's original drummer DJ Fontana, on drums.
Elvis Presley is still the king. Well, he's still the king. That's all right. Man, he sure could sing. That's all right.